Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Podcast. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Welcome to episode number 138. Today, we're talking all about computer science for students all around the world. Today, we're talking about the TEALS program, and today, my guest is Kevin from the TEALS program. Kevin, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. Hello, everybody from a sort of sunny Seattle. It's not really that sunny. It's kind of overcast.
Very, very cool. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm the founder and I run the TEALS program here in Microsoft Philanthropies. And it is a program that I designed essentially back in 2009. I was a high school computer science teacher coming out of undergrad. I went and taught high school computer science for 3 years before going off to grad school and coming to Microsoft. And as all teachers know, we wake up at 6 a.m. on the dot, and that doesn't quite work in the software industry. If you show up at work that early, there's nobody there. You'd be you have the best parking spot, and not even the lights are on. And I would have to go find a lighting override switch, which I had to go find quite a few times. Eventually, a local high school here discovered or heard down the grapevine that I used to teach high school computer science. Essentially reached out to me because they didn't have a computer science program. And I worked out a deal with them where I would go and teach computer science first period on my way to work. Their first period's from 8 to 9. And by the time I'm done, I'm back at work at 9:30. And sometimes I'm still the first person in the building. So, literally a couple months after that, 3 more local high schools in Seattle heard about what I was doing. Hey, there's a software engineer from Microsoft that's teaching computer science locally. And so they asked me to do the same thing at their school. Obviously, as any physics teacher, you can't be in 4 places at one time. And essentially what I did was I found 10 other friends here in Seattle that I trained them on how to teach high school computer science. That's how TEALS started. And it's a program that's essentially made by a teacher and engineer for teachers and engineers. And the end goal is for, high school teachers who want to teach computer science, or possibly even voluntold by their principals to teach computer science, to team teach it with a team of software engineers who are the content experts. And after a year or two of teaching together, that the classroom teacher gets enough content information to teach it on their own, and they could teach it instead of just first period when we're there, but the entire school day. So think of it as, instead of going to the College Board APCS PD for like 4 days, you have 36 weeks with us. And since it's a 2-year program, you have essentially 72-week-long, 2-year-long PD with us.
I love the concept about this. If anybody's out there looking for information, you can find it at TEALS, TEALS K12.org. That's TEALSK12.org. And, you're right, Kevin. There are so many teachers out there that might feel that coding is a little bit over their heads, but their school district is looking at them to create the curriculum, to drive the school district in this digital citizenship, in this coding, in this programming area. What advice do you have for teachers who might be starting these programs or might be in their first, second year going, I want to do a good job, but I just don't know where to look for help?
Yeah, so that's exactly what our program is really designed for, because being a former teacher, I know how hard it is to essentially, take on a whole new subject area that you have no expertise in. And especially teaching it at the high school level, whether it's intro computer science or AP computer science, you really need a pretty strong CS background to teach it. One, obviously, reach out to TEALS and see if that's a good fit for you. And there's just tons of resources out there, whether code.org has a PD program plus PD teacher PD that they run in the summer, and a support system as well. And we've just partnered with code.org's APCS principles course. So you can go through code.org summer PD and work with us the rest of the school year. So we're piloting that this upcoming 16-17 school year. And also NIMSY, National Math and Science Initiative, also does that as well. There's quite a few programs like that out there. And it's really not about the curriculum. I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, curriculum, right? It's actually not about the curriculum. It's about how well you know it, right? If you're a math teacher, science teacher, whatever, it's really all about what you know and how you can teach it to the students. If it was like, let's say Latin is all of a sudden super important. There's a lot of Latin text out there for thousands of years, but without people who can speak Latin, you're not going to be able to teach Latin. So there's enough curriculum out there, but the core of the problem is helping existing math teachers, science teachers, business teachers who want to teach computer science become experts in that field.
I certainly agree with you that it's much like, with my music background, you want somebody in the classroom that lives and breathes that stuff. And, you had given the example, first one in, last one out, and just doing this and being that example for the kids. When you're looking at getting into a program like this, is this something that a teacher has to apply for? Do you only take so many teachers at a time for a program like this, or is this open to everybody and please apply because the school year is coming?
Well, the school year thing actually happens relatively early because we work with schools at not just at the classroom, but at the school and also the district level. Everyone has to buy in, from the superintendent down to the principal, to the, down to the school building, to the classroom itself. So there's actually a pretty rigorous partnership process. We actually started in November. So all of the schools for 16-17 are already onboarded. So next November, when we open up the school partnership process again for the 17-18 school year, then it is apply. For sure. And we have a limit in each region. We have a limit amount of bandwidth and capacity for the teachers, depending on location and also what they're doing.
And what kind of successes have you seen so far from people who have gone through the program?
So we just published a paper in ACM SIGSI, which is the ACM is the computer science sort of professional organization, and they have a conference just on computer science education. SIGSI stands for Special Interest Group Computer Science Education. There's other ones like SIGGRAPH, where they talk about graphics and like in Madden, how is the drop of sweat on the player so realistic, right? Stuff like that. So there's a lot of special interest conferences. So we published at the computer science education one, and for AP, our TEALS students score a standard deviation above the national average, and also our passing rate is about a standard deviation above the national average. And our classroom teachers, about 85% of them are on track for that 2-year handoff window that we give. And there's lots of other data out there. For example, 29% of our students are girls. A quarter of them are underrepresented minorities. About 70% of them, after the course, becomes very, very interested. They either want to major in computer science, or they're heavily considering either majoring or minoring in computer science in college. That's no different than having a great teacher in journalism or whatever, in history, that inspires a kid to really take that on at the college level.
I love the stats you're giving here. Just to give a few more here to the audience, it says here, since 2009, the TEALS program has had over 550 volunteers who have helped more than 6,000 students in 162 schools. That's phenomenal. And
that's just last year. That's just the school year that ended. So cumulatively, our volunteers do, I think software engineers a lot of time in the media gets knocked for, not being involved in the civic community or whatever, especially, in certain areas where like in San Francisco, where there's a lot of tension between longtime residents and then tech folks. But underneath, despite all that media attention out there, software engineers do give back a lot. It's just very hard for them to give back. Doctors do, free clinic. Lawyers do pro bono work. Software engineers this is one of the ways that software engineers can do pro bono work in the area of their expertise, right? So this is where we give back. Each team of 4 that's paired with a classroom teacher go through summer training with us on how to teach high school computer science, as well as a little bit on the curriculum. And they're in the classroom 2 days a week. And so you have a team of 4, and so they rotate. So the teacher's fully covered. There's 2 industry volunteers there with them every single day of the year. And so our volunteers each invest about 220 to 280 hours, depending how long their commute is in that school. So you have a team of 4. Combine those software engineers, put in about 1,000 hours, invest 1,000 hours in their schools, helping their local school build up a CS program. So if you calculate that out, like law firms do about, our lawyers' time. So if you convert that, these software engineers are essentially making a $250,000, $250,000 investment in the school with their time to help a teacher, to help a school build up a sustainable computer science program. And so that's what they're doing. That's the amount of passion they have for it. And so TEALS is a program where they can actually plug in and do it the right way.
And Kevin, do you give these volunteers a curriculum to go through? And are all these volunteers Microsoft employees, or can anybody apply to be a volunteer through your program?
Yeah, it is for everybody. And so you can think about this as TEALS. There's a whole nother backstory about how TEALS ended up in Microsoft Philanthropies. But essentially, when TEALS got to the point of, I was a software engineer in Office 365. And when TEALS got to a point where I knew next year there was going to be 35 high schools. So that's 35 sets of administration to work with, 35 teachers. And if you worked out at the math, that's over 100 volunteers that I'm working with. This was no longer something I could do in my free time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner time and the rest of the day. So I actually sold my Porsche, and which I always wanted when I was a kid, and said, you know what, like, I need to do this as a 501c 501c3 nonprofit. And I was ready to resign from Microsoft. And literally a couple of weeks before I was going to hand in my resignation letter, my VP actually took me to go see Satya Nadella. Satya back then was the president of the server tools and business. He wasn't the CEO back then. Essentially, they came to the conclusion that if I did this as a nonprofit, immediately I would spend 80% of my time fundraising and wouldn't be able to concentrate on the program itself. So they said, look, this is a fantastic program. The mission is right to teach computer science and to help, build up computer science teacher capacity. The tech community has given so much to the company. It's the time that the company gave back to this is a great way for the company to give back to the rest of the tech community. And so they said, we'll give you a budget. You don't have to raise any money, and keep on doing what you're doing. Right.
Wow.
And so I got incredibly lucky with this. And yeah, this is a program from the get-go that was designed for classroom teachers and software engineers from wherever they're from. So the program itself, the program structure is funded by Microsoft, but we teach best off-the-shelf curriculum. So for example, AP is the University of Washington's super popular CSE 142 class, proven course. And, the funny thing is that it's funded by Microsoft, but we teach Java, right? And our intro course is UC Berkeley's CS10 class. So another incredibly popular class at Berkeley. And so when we go to school, say, hey, our 2 curriculums that we work with, and we work with UW and Berkeley to, adjust the curriculum for high school timing and whatnot. And so everyone loves it because it's like, hey, yeah, we want our kids to be learning the same thing as students at a top 10 CS program. That's fantastic, right? And so our volunteers who are teaching these curriculums love it as well. And they come from all different companies. This is no different than lawyers and doctors doing pro bono work, even though during the day you might be competitors or partners or whatever it is. But, before you go to work and you do this is something that you're doing for the community. So actually, out of our 550 volunteers this past school year, out of that, 75% of them are non-Microsoft and come from 200 different tech companies across the country.
That's fantastic. I mean,
yeah, so it's like a software engineer movement, right? Pro bono movement that we're building here.
So you had this opportunity to leave Microsoft and start this from nothing and build it up. And then suddenly there you are with Satya saying, please stay, we're going to put money behind this. At what point did you say to yourself, I wish I didn't sell the Porsche?
All the time. I think right after I left that meeting. Yeah, but I think that for me was, I think, a mental step I needed to take to say, look, I'm committed enough to leave all of this, all of the software engineering stuff, that the comfort, the job, everything behind, to go do the right thing for my fellow teachers. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the right thing to do.
When a student or a teacher is going through this as a program here, is there a final project that they're working on? Is it just the idea of, I'm going to code, I'm going to get better at coding? Is the idea to build a game, build a platform? What do the students ultimately get out of this after they go through maybe 1 or 2 years with their teachers and their volunteers?
I mean, aside from doing the same thing, I think as kids, students at UW and Berkeley does, I think that's a huge feather in their cap, right? Mm-hmm. You can go out and say, yeah, in high school, I learned the same computer science course or curriculum as a first-year CS student at Berkeley or at UW, which is a top 10 CS program. Like, that is huge. Knowing that you can do the same thing as students at those institutions is a big sense of accomplishment for the kids. The curriculum itself is very project-based. Computer science, you don't learn computer science by listening or seeing someone else do it. It's all about doing it on your own, just like music, right? You can't learn how to play the trumpet by watching other people or just listening. You got to practice. So it's very project-oriented. So in the intro class, we have a bunch of projects. So the first one is like a little bit like a little Mario project, and then Pong, and then Galaga, and then there's Hangman. And behind each one of those projects are huge CS concepts that everyone learns, even as a computer, that as a CS major or as a software engineer, they all know the same basic concept behind that. So that's the intro course derived from UC Berkeley. And then for AP, we have a couple of big projects as well. And after one is, doing a calculator that does fractions, which I think you can sell. I think you're a high schooler. You can definitely sell that to fourth graders who are just learning fractions for a lot of cash, for sure. And also, they recreate one of the first killer apps for computers, which is VisiCalc. So the predecessor to Excel and Lotus 1 to 3. So they actually get to do that as their second quarter project. They get to build the first thing that made computers go from like a hobbyist thing to a vital business tool. So they get to build that. And then after the AP exam itself, we have a lot of interesting projects for the students. One is they learn enough Java to actually go mod Minecraft. So there's, we have a 1 month long mod Minecraft project for after the AP, as well as depending on the school, different schools choose different things. Another one is sort of an AI controlled spaceship game. So if you think of like a multiplayer Galaga asteroid kind of thing, you have a lot of ships, but instead of being controlled by a player, the students write an algorithm and they interact with the world and each other. And, at the end, somebody wins, and because they have the best way to win that game.
I love the curriculum here. We're talking today with Kevin Wang, the founder, and I believe my notes say here you're the ringleader of this program. What What is behind being called the ringleader here?
Yeah, when we started, it was 10 people. So it was like, I guess we're a posse now. So, well, what's the appropriate, title to have, right? So, and I think that's sort of carried on for quite some time and continues to be.
Love it. The website is tealsk12.org. You can, of course, find them on Twitter at tealsk12org. Talk to us a little bit about the partnership with code.org. What does that mean as far as just, either solidifying this as a program or taking this to the next level? And where do you want to see TEALS, say, in the next 5 or 10 years, if you can think that far out?
Well, 5 to 10 years is a long time, but we have about 35,000 high schools out of the 45,000 or so in the US that still does not teach rigorous computer science. That is a huge, huge issue. It's an order of magnitude bigger than UK. I think some of you guys might have read, the United Kingdom has now mandated computer science education in all of their high schools. We're talking about like 5,000 or 6,000 high schools, right? America is just way bigger, geographically spread out, and instead of having one Ministry of Education that runs all of the high schools, we have 50 states. They all have their own different rules, but that's a lot of high schools. And our goal at the end of the day is really to make sure that every high school that want to teach computer science is able to and give that access to their students. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think computer science is one of the fundamental science, no different from physics, bio, or chemistry. The kids have to know what's going on around them. It's not magic, right? This would be like chemistry back in the Middle Ages, right? It's alchemy. Well, no, there's science behind it, and it's important for them to actually know what that is, and that's incredibly important and be a part of that world. I think in 3 tiers, right? One is, I think all the tech companies and national defense, computer science has permeated everything, right? So we need people who can create these things, software engineers who can build what everyone needs, whether it's for finance or for marketing, for sports. I think if you watch soccer, you can see that the players all wear a tracker now, right? They wear a little sort of like an A shirt, but with the bottom cut off, and there's like a little bump in the front and the back. These are GPS trackers. So, and football players have that too now. So they're, analytics is coming into sports. Whatever it is, you can't do any science without computer science at this point, right? You can't sequence the human genome without a computer and know how to use it. And you can't do marketing without knowing how to look at big data and everything else. And Internet of Things is coming. So the students have to understand that at the very basic level, just like, biology, you understand at the very basic level, because lawmakers, the people that are going to be running this country are going to be these kids, and they have to know all of the fundamentals behind it so they can make decisions. And also, whatever job they end up in, they have to know computer science to be successful at that job. And thirdly, we do need more software engineers and computer scientists. So at any one of those 3 levels, we need computer science for sure. And so there's a huge job in front of us. And so this is why we partner with code.org. Hadi and I go way back together. I think when I remember when he showed me the now famous code.org video on his phones and start playing. I'm like, dude, how do you know Bill Gates and Chris Bosh? So it's been a long time coming. They are spending so much time and energy now at the high school level to make sure, people have access to computer science, APCS principles. So we think APCS-A, APCS principle, intro courses. So sort of like Physics C, Physics B, or, Calc BC, Calc AB, and then all of your supporting sort of high school, college prep classes. So that's sort of the progression, if you want to think about it. And so they are running summer training, and they're running summer training for the teachers. And, you could be learning as a math teacher, you learn about TCP/IP and how the internet works. And, come November, and you're like, oh no, what did I learn in summer teacher PD back in June, right? Like, so having a couple of volunteers, the partnership is that code.org takes care of the teacher professional development in the summer. The teacher comes out of their program being able to teach 80-90% of the curriculum, and our volunteers are there to help out during lab. And also, sometimes there's a difficult topic that comes up, we can come and fill that void and be the technical backstop, and be the utility infielder when that time comes. And so I think we have 12 high schools we're piloting that, and if all works well, and with the having the volunteers and the higher AP scores, passing rates, we hope to bring that part of the TEALS program into a code.org AP/ECS principles course. So that was a very long answer. I could have just said yes, right? But that's sort of the background why we want to make sure that everyone really are successful, because so much time and energy, political capital have been spent on this. And, CS education hasn't been this exciting since the 1970s, since Seymour Papert came out with logo Mindstorms. And this is a Sputnik moment that our country has to be aware of. And this is, I think, everything's coming together. So we have to seize the moment and making sure everything that we do is successful and gets to continue to grow and reach those other 35,000 high schools that don't have computer science.
Well, let me pick up on what you just said there. You said a Sputnik moment. And right now, your motto is computer science in every high school. There's so much stuff going on right now for the middle and elementary schools out there. I mean, in December we do Hour of Code, and there's Scratch and all these coding programming type platforms that are designed for younger kids. Where and when should students start to pick up the computer science courses? Is this something that I know, like, as you said, 35,000 high schools still don't have an idea of how to start these kinds of programs, but so many of them are, and so many of them are trying to do this in the middle school areas, in the maker spaces, in the STEM labs, things like that. What, if you were creating your own school district, what kind of courses would you offer K-12? When would you start these different opportunities for students?
Yeah, these model already exist. So I think computer science should very much follow what a lot of the other sciences have done in this space. So, for elementary school, making sure there's, small components of that in their day, or in, snippets of computer science at the elementary school level, as a class. However, I think if you can remember back to elementary school, sometimes there's a unit called Earth Science, or about, learning about tundras and ecology, how that works. It doesn't span the entire, school year, but you get enough, and you dig deep enough, you spark a lot of students' interest in science in general. And so computer science should have something like that. And there are, code.org has some really great K through 6 curriculum there that's like that, that's bite-sized, that's really great for elementary school kids. Our Code is one of those things. For middle school, it's a really interesting space, because there's so many different ways to go. So you can do robotics, which some schools do. So, if you look at Lego Robotics, they do teacher professional development, and kids build like really cool things with Lego Mindstorms. Basic Stamp does the same thing. Finch Robot does the same thing. And then there's Scratch out there. They all offer really great middle school teacher professional development. And middle school, you're at the point where you can, if you're a teacher, you can go there for a week or two and just soak up their teacher PD, and you can come back and actually teach it really, really well. And then you have high school, where it needs to be a separate subject and really need to be a part of biochem and physics, and have a standalone class and have a pathway, just like the other courses, conceptual physics, physics and an AP physics, B, and then C, computer science needs something that's very, very similar to that pathway, and the selection of courses that kids at different levels and want to do different things with computer science can take.
Again, we're talking to Kevin Wang from the TEALS program over here as part of Microsoft Philanthropies. Kevin, we've had a lot of Microsoft EdTech divisions on here. You are the first person that we've interviewed from Microsoft Philanthropies. Could you tell us a little bit about what Microsoft is doing in the community or for the community, maybe with TEALS or in addition to TEALS? What is Microsoft Philanthropies and how does it work?
So Microsoft's a tech company that had a really, really long streak of essentially giving back to the community. And it really started with Bill Gates' mom, I believe, way back when, because his dad is a lawyer, right? And so lawyers do pro bono work. And so that naturally, I think, became a part of Microsoft's DNA. And in the past, I think it used to be called Microsoft Citizenship, but now it's Microsoft Philanthropies, which really reflects what our mission is. And TEALS is a part of that bigger overall organization. And it's really about, I think, giving back, and that's no different than our model, enabling companies and businesses, and in this case, nonprofits, be the best that they can be, right? Sorry to bring the Army motto, but, like with tools and software that can help them really concentrate on their core business or their core mission. So for example, we work with organizations that do work with refugee camps or disaster response, or helping large nonprofits streamline their business processes, getting them the right business tools or software or servers, or cloud in order for them to do help them and be more efficient and get a bigger reach and help more people at the end of the day with what they have. And so there's lots of other things that we have done in the past. And one other thing that's really that made TEALS so successful initially, especially recruiting out of the Microsoft employee base, was that Microsoft has always had this streak of employees going out to their community to give back in various ways. And Microsoft actually has a program where if an employee goes out and, let's say, one is TEALS, right? Volunteer with TEALS, but let's say go to their local NPR station and help out, or their local Red Cross and help out. For every hour that the employee spends with that nonprofit, Microsoft matches that 1 hour with $25 of actual cash dollar money. So we have given, I think, in the past 20 or 30 years of Microsoft existence, the employees, because that matching money has given nonprofits over $1 billion. That's $1 billion with a B. So every hour adds up, including the ones from TEALS.
Kevin, that's an amazing story. Again, if anybody out there is interested in volunteering or having their schools sign up for the program, where can they go to get more information?
Feel free to search for TEALS. We are not the trucking company or the supermarket. So, so we would be the logical one. Whichever search engine you use, you'll be able to find us in the top search results, as long as you're not clicking on the supermarket or the trucking firm.
Very, very cool.
It took us a few years to get TEALS to beat those on the search results. So we've finally done it.
Well, congratulations for that. Kevin, where do we get more information about the great stuff that you're working on personally?
Personally, I think that I have a blog post. I did a blog post and things got so busy, I sort of retired it. But recently, I started again. I think it's like the Kev blog. Just search for the Kev blog, I think. thekevblog.com, .net, .something. I can actually, now that I'm kind of curious, KEVBLOG.
We will make sure that it's in all the show notes here.
Yeah, it's thekevblog.com.
Thekevblog.com.
Right now, it's, like I realize I'm trying a lot of recipes. So there's some stuff about food, about cars, about my travel. So there's a lot of I went to Taiwan back in November, so there's a review of all the beers and of Taiwan. There's some things about fountain pens I just really recently got back into. So yeah, so
all right. So if you're interested in learning about pretty good pork chops, check out thekevblog.com. Definitely
I'll try to. So if I don't post for a long time, what that means is TEALS gotten really busy. And if I post, it means you can see summer's not as crazy as a school year. So I have time to spend some time and make some food for myself.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time today. Please come back on and share more success stories. I'd love to have you guys on, maybe with some of the partner schools that you guys are working with and some of the volunteers. I think it'll be a great follow-up to this. And please, again, consider coming back. One more time, we're talking to Kevin from the TEALS program over here at Microsoft. This is TEALSK12.org. That's TEALSK12.org. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today, my friend.
No, thank you. And we'll definitely come back with a panel of teachers once school is back in session and see what their experience is. And we're also on our YouTube. I think YouTube, if you search for TEALS, a lot of makeup tips on TEALS. But if you put in TEALS K-12, there's a about half-hour video that gives all the details that we just sort of touched on. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of details if you're a school teacher, if you want to partner with us, if you want to bring software engineers into your classroom and teach together, teach AP and Intro CS together, how you can go about doing that, and all of the fun little partnership implementation details, like what textbooks do we use, what does it mean to partner with us in and setting up a time and all of this stuff. What do we do from November to get you guys partnered up in March, and what do we do from March to September, and then what happens once the school year starts. So all of that details on there. So search for TEALS K-12 in YouTube. And if you see a lot of makeup, then you probably forgot to type in the K-12 part of it. So there's some videos on there about our volunteers and things like that. But the school information session is the one you want to visit. And if you're a volunteer, there's an equal one, a similar one that's aimed towards volunteers.
All right. TEALSK12.org. Certainly check out the other great work happening over at code.org. Kevin, again, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you out there for listening to the TeacherCast Podcast. This is episode number 138. My name is Jeff Bradbury. There's, of course, several great ways that you can reach out and be a part of the show each and every week. We love it when you find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And, of course, you can find us over on iTunes and YouTube. Check us out, subscribe to our channels, and of course, give us a nice review and 5-star rating. Again, my name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for being a part of TeacherCast and making it your home for your professional development for the last 5 years. Until next time, keep up the great work in your classroom and continue sharing your passions with your students.